Hey everybody, welcome back to another video, and on today's video we're going to be talking about different exit strategies. When you start wholesaling houses, you start flipping contracts, what's going to happen is you're going to start to rack up a lot of cash. You're going to have cash, right? And so it opens up the doors for these other exit strategies, these other opportunities where you can actually reinvest your profit right back into one of these exit strategies and you can make money. With some of these exit strategies, you're going to be able to make passive income, build a portfolio of properties, and become a landlord without involving the bank. So I'm going to get into these exit strategies. Now, as you can see here, I have wholesaling. It's in pink because, well, this is the one we already know, and this is the one I mainly go over on my channel. However, we have fix and flip, we have novations, and we have creative finance. Those are the other exit strategies. Now, fix and flip, I'm sure you're familiar. It's when you buy the house, you renovate it, and you sell it for ARV. Fixing up the property, renovating, upgrading, forcing the equity, and then selling it to a first-time home buyer, someone that's going to live in the house. You typically hire a realtor to help you out with that. And then novations is super interesting, right? There's been a lot of talk about novations lately, recently, just because novations is a great exit strategy as well for taking down those deals where the seller's motivated, but what you're offering them as a cash offer is just too low. And the property's in good condition. We would say it's rent ready, maybe even a little bit better than rent ready, right? But for the most part, when you take a look at the condition, it looks like it would pass a bank inspection because the condition is so good. It's not necessarily fully renovated. The big ticket items are good, the plumbing, electrical, the roof, right? And the kitchen and cabinets could be updated, but for the most part, they are in good condition. Like I mentioned, it could be rent ready or better. That would be a novation. And creative finance. Now, creative finance, I'm gonna go and tell you guys the absolute truth, because there are some things I would avoid, and then there's things, that I do recommend when it comes down to creative finance. So let's start breaking it down. So if we go over here, the first thing I want to talk about is fix and flipping. So when you start closing a lot of wholesale deals, you're going to have cash on the side, and that cash you can use towards a down payment to get a loan to renovate a property. That's as best as I can explain it. So right now I'm going to teach you guys the terms, the math. I'm going to give you guys the exact mindset of a lender, what a lender is going to calculate when they're giving you the loan. And I'm going to explain lender in a second, because the first problem that everybody has with fix and flipping is they're like, I don't have money. Where am I going to get the money? I don't have 100K. I don't have 200K. I don't have 300, 400, 500K. I don't have this money. And you can actually get that money, right? There's lenders out there that are more than happy to lend you this money if the deal makes sense. So we're going to break that down right now. So there's two types of funding in any sort of real estate transaction. So we have the standard sale, which is a conventional loan, an FHA loan, a VA loan. And that's when you're actually going to live in a house. So you're buying this with a bank loan. You're buying a house with a bank loan because you're going to live in the property, whatever the case is. VA loan, right? You're veterans, you get that loan. You don't have to put a down payment. But that's usually the most basic loans. And guess what? These loans right here require a lot of pre-screening, a lot of W-2s, a lot of stuff you got to actually bring to the table so you can get approved. And they have strict criteria. They have to go out, check the property. So this, this type of funding here, like the conventional, it's not going to work for a fix and flip, right? You guys probably already knew that. It's not going to work because they're going to send somebody to look at the house, and the house is not going to be in good condition. And typically with fix and flipping, you're buying the house, it's in ugly condition, and you're going to go ahead and renovate it so you can force the equity out of it. And none of these loans on the left are going to allow you to do that. Okay, so now the other type of funding for real estate, right, real estate transactions is investment funding. Now, investment funding is cash. Maybe you have cash to buy the entire house. There's also hard money, private money, and creative finance. And I'm going to be breaking those down in a second. But essentially, with the investment funding, you can go to a hard money lender, a private lender, finance. Cool. So hard money. I know you guys are wondering, what is a hard money lender? Hard money refers to financing provided by a private individual or organizations. Hard money loans are usually short-term and come with higher interest rates and fees compared to traditional bank loans. They are often sought after by real estate investors who need quick access to capital or who may not qualify for conventional financing due to factors such as credit history or property condition. Hard money lenders base their lending decisions primarily on the value of the property rather than the borrower's credit worthiness, making them a popular opinion for investors looking to fund fix and flip projects or other sensitive real estate transactions. So, hard money lenders, it's not the bank, right? It's just private individuals or sometimes private individuals that group up. So something you need to keep in mind with hard money is the lenders are not going to check for your credit, right? They're not going to need proof of income, and you're only paying interest, not principal on your payments. And I will explain that later on. So don't be scared of lenders, okay? Because I know some of you guys would be great fix and flippers. You guys would literally crush it in any market. But you guys are scared of talking to lenders. You guys are like, damn, I don't want to talk to this person that has a lot of money. And so I'm going to be breaking the truth about hard money lenders. So they're not like one-stop shops or anything. They're all different, from big ones with 150 million bucks to smaller ones with just $1 million. They're just regular folks in the real estate community. There's a ton of lenders out there. There's a huge pool of them. So you got to keep looking until you find the one that's right for you. Some of them work super fast. They can close a deal in one day, but then there's others that take a little bit longer. Some of them might be cool with teaming up with you on deals. So some of them, like if you bring them a really good deal, they might actually team up with you as a partner, and they'll give you really, really cheap interest, and you won't need to put that much of a down payment. Now, they're not like part of some big group or anything. They're all owned by different people. Okay, so I hope I'm painting the picture for you guys here that these private lenders, they're regular people like you and me. They just have money and they're ready to invest it in real estate. Okay, some are fast, some are slow, some want lots of interest, others don't. It's kind of like a mixed bag. At the end of the day, they're just regular folks like you and me, not some big, scary banking corporation. They've got money and they're looking for good investment opportunities. They're more flexible and more open to hearing your ideas. And hey, they're in it to make money too. So if your deal looks good, they're 100% going to be interested. Sure, it can be nerve-wracking to reach out to them at first, but trust me, they're just people. They want to hear what you've got to say. So don't be afraid to strike up a conversation with a lender. I want to get you guys comfortable with private money lenders because they have money and they will lend it to you. They will. If you got a good deal, they will. So stop thinking you need all this money. The one thing I want to be honest and upfront about is with fix and flipping, you do need a down payment. So you are going to need maybe 20, 30K. About hard money lenders, nothing to be scared of. You should 100% start reaching out to lenders in your area, make relationships with them, let them know you're a wholesaler and you get these properties. Because as a wholesaler, you're the first one to get the lead. You get the lead. The buyer doesn't get the lead. You get the lead. You get the seller lead first. You talk to them. You can easily get it under contract for yourself. You don't have to sell it off to anybody. It's a win-win for both of you guys because they want to make money and you want their money so you can make money. Great. So hard money lenders, I know you guys are wondering, so how do they manage to lend securely without thoroughly vetting the borrower? So how is the private lender able to lend you money for that property without running your background, without doing a credit check? How are they able to do that? Without asking for W-2, right, pay stubs. How are they able? How are they so comfortable? Well, this is how. They're going to get the promissory note and the mortgage, the deed, trust, lien against the property. So some states are mortgage, some are deed of trust, and basically this is how they're going to foreclose on you. And then the promissory note is basically you're promising to pay back that debt. That's what it is. So the house is basically theirs. If you don't make those payments to them and fix up the property when you said you would, and they don't get their money back, then guess what? They will foreclose on you. They'll sell the house and they'll make their money back, but you will lose your down payment. Basically, the lender is first position. If the house ever sells, they get paid first. And if you stop paying them, they will foreclose on you and they will get paid. And number 3, they will only lend for a portion of the house's value. So if the house is valued at $300,000, the lender is not going to pay $300,000. or nowhere near that amount. They want to pay significantly below that. They only lend you a percentage of the value of the house. So they still have value there. They can sell the house and get their money back. Okay, great. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Let's head on to the next slide. So here is the hard money lender's math. So it finally starts to click in you guys' head. So the value of the house, the ARV, is $300,000. Your purchase and sale contract says $220,000. Typically, the lender is only going to lend about 80% of the purchase price. So here, $187,000. So in this case scenario, we have a property that we're going to fully renovate. The ARV is $300,000. The purchase price is $220,000, and the lender is lending us only up to 85%. And this protects them because if the buyer defaults, they are into the property at 62% of its value. So the lender is going to be in a good situation because they can just sell the house and foreclose on you because they're at 85% of your purchase price. And your purchase price is significantly below the ARV. So let's head over to the next slide. I just explained to you guys how lenders are covered and why they can basically lend the money without having to vet you so much because they are basically protected and you will lose your down payment. Now let's head over to the next slide. Hard money terms. So these are the terms that a hard money lender is going to use. Now you have points. This you pay upfront and it's usually 1% of the purchase price. Now, loan to value. So hard money lenders typically fund up to 80% of the purchase price, which means you will need a down payment to cover the amount that the loan does not cover. And then interest rate, which I didn't put the definition because we all know what an interest rate is, right? It's basically what you pay on the money that's borrowed every single month. And then there's other fees like the document fee, which sometimes can be free. And then there's a hazard insurance coverage because private lenders will require this. Okay, cool. So yeah, these are the terms, the points, the LTV, the interest rate. There's sometimes a documents fee and then the hazard insurance coverage. Okay, sample hard money terms. So this is basically an example right here. So loan to value is 80%, meaning the private lender has agreed they're only paying 80% of the purchase price. Interest rate, 10.9%. Points, 2 points. And then doc fee, $900. And then the term of this loan is 6 months with a 6-month extension. So how do the lenders determine the points and the interest? It depends. It depends on how easy it is for the lender to foreclose on you. Depends if it's a judicial or a deed of trust state because it's going to vary on how much it's going to cost them to foreclose on you. So let's break that down in the next slide. So judicial states, there's a longer foreclosure. There's a longer foreclosure process. There's appraisal requirement most times. High interest rates might require BPO, which is the broker price opinion. Long inspection period, 7 to 10 days. And it can take up to 9 months to foreclose, which is a lot of time, guys. It's a lot of time for them and it's going to be very costly. And so that's why they're going to charge you a lot of points if you're trying to, borrow money from them in a judicial state. And if you don't know if your market is judicial or deed of trust, just do a quick Google search, put your market, and then say, is this a judicial or a deed of trust state? Easy as that. Now, the deed of trust states, the foreclosure auction, it's easier for the lender to get his money back because he's going to be able to auction the property right away. It's less risky for the lender, and basically he can foreclose in 3 months. So right off the bat, you can see the difference. Judicial is a headache, and it's much, much longer to foreclose for the lenders. It's more expensive, meaning you will have to pay more points and maybe more interest and maybe a bigger down payment. Okay. Now, the deed of trust, it's easier for the lender to foreclose, so they're going to be a little more lenient and flexible because they know if you fail to make payments and you fail to fix the property and get them their money back, they will just foreclose on you. Now that I've explained the judicial versus the deed of trust state, and you've done a quick Google search to figure out if your state is judicial or deed of trust, Now we're going to go over some of the terms, and we're going to go over some examples and actually do the math together. So hard money terms, as I mentioned, points. You are going to pay points on the money that you're borrowing, and you're going to pay this up front. It's usually one point is 1% of the purchase price. And then loan to value, hard money lenders typically fund up to 80% of the purchase price, which means you will need a down payment to cover the amount that the loan does not cover. We have the interest rate, which is how much you're paying monthly for that money. And then the documents fee, which is sometimes waived, but sometimes it's not and you have to pay for it. And the hazard insurance coverage, which is something that is required by the lender because if the house burns down, they want to claim the insurance money. It's the only way that their money will be secured in case any crazy situation like a fire. Here is where we're going to get into the math. Now, don't freak out. It's actually super simple, basic math, okay? So our ARV is $200,000. The purchase price is $140,000. Now, we want to find out how much the lender is going to cover of the loan. Obviously, we got to call some lenders. We got to speak to them, and they will tell us everything. They'll tell us how much points on the property, the LTV, the interest rate, if they're going to charge us a document fee. You know, they're going to tell us this. So once you've talked to a couple lenders, then, you know, you have all the information here. They'll tell you, yeah, you know, the lender will say like, hey, you know, I can only pay 80% of the purchase price. So what you do is you times 80%, because they said they're only covering 80% of the purchase price. And now the loan amount is $112,000. This is what the lender is going to cover of the purchase price for you to buy the house. Now, if you subtract the purchase price minus the loan amount, you will get the amount that the loan does not cover. Essentially, how much you are going to have to bring to the table, your down payment. So, in this equation here, we've determined that this loan does not cover $28,000, and so you will have to put $28,000 to cover the entire purchase price, because the seller, remember, is asking $140,000, and the lender is only willing to lend you $112,000. So now, what if there are points? Because remember, lenders are going to charge you points. So this is the loan amount right here. They're only loaning me $112,000. So they're going to charge me, here in this example, they're charging me 2 points because that's what my lender told me. And he told me that it's 1% of the loan amount. So if we do 1% times the loan amount, it gets us 1,120. And we have 2 points. And the value of 1 point is 1% of the loan amount. And we just did the math. We figured out that 1,120 is the cost of 1 point. And the lender told us, hey, I'm going to need 2 points for this transaction. So all we do is we times 1,120 times 2 to account for 2 points. And we have to pay 2,240 as an upfront fee. It's basically the points that we have to pay. Okay. So far we have to cover $28,000. We have to pay $2,240 for the points. And now if we add that all up together, which is the amount the loan does not cover, which is $28,000, the total point cost is $2,240. And then the lender also let us know that the document fee is going to be $850, and the hazard insurance cushion is going to be $850. That means for us to purchase this property, and if I can find my phone, so $28,000 plus $2,240 plus $850 plus $850 gives us $31,900. Okay, so this would be the total that we would need. We would need $31,940 for us to purchase this house, renovate it, and then sell it for ARV. Okay? And for those of you guys freaking out, like, oh my God, 31,940, it's a lot of money. It's really not, because when you start wholesaling houses, you can make this amount with 2 deals. You just have to be disciplined and save and not mess around. You just got to make sure you're saving, because you can definitely save 31,940 doing a couple deals. So make sure you talk to all the private lenders until you find the best one for you. And then you can start cherry picking, and instead of wholesaling, you fix and flip the property and you make more. Fix and flippers are making more money than us per deal. So we went over the terms, the points, the LTV, the interest rate, the document fee, the hazard insurance. We went over an example here about if we wanted to purchase the property 140, our lender told us he's only covering 80%. That will leave us with 112,000, meaning that we have to cover 28,000 towards the loan. And now we have to pay points to the lender, because in case they have to foreclose on us, and they will tell us the points and the percentage. But in this example, the point cost is 1%, because that's usually what it is, 1% of the loan amount. So the loan amount times 1% equals 1,120. That means that each point for this loan is 1,120. So in this loan, we have 2 points. We times the cost of 1 point times 2, and we get $2,240. We add it all together to see exactly the amount that we would need. And the exact amount we would need to take on this deal, $31,940. This is the amount that we would need to get this loan. We added up what the loan does not cover, the total point cost, the doc fee, the hazard insurance, and we got $31,940. Great, so now we are gonna do our homework. So I want you guys to go to networking events, talk to private lenders, save money from your wholesale deals, take deals down, take your best deals down, build relationships with lenders to get the best LTV, points, and interest. I hope you guys are taking a screenshot, or that you guys are writing this down, because this is something you must do so you can open up this opportunity, because fix and flip is a great opportunity, especially if you're cherry picking the best deals, the deals where it's a lipstick and you're going to make a ton of money without having to do so much of a rehab. In some cases, you will have to do a massive rehab, but you are going to be able to cherry pick. You have the chance, you have the ability to get all these leads and cherry pick the best ones. So make sure you're talking to lenders so you can start fixing and flipping. So that was the first exit strategy I wanted to cover. Fix and flipping, taking down the best deals. So that is fix and flip. Now, creative finance. Okay, so now we're going to talk about creative finance. Now, creative finance is basically cutting out the bank, right? Working directly with the seller and working out a creative, finance solution. So basically either talking to them, seeing if they're open to taking payments on the property every single month for the next 10 years at minimum with a very small down payment. That's essentially what creative finance is. Now, there's different ways to make money once you have a seller agreed on that, but generally, this is the best way for you to build a portfolio, to become a massive landlord. Because the problem is that banks do require a lot of, W-2, credit, right? There's a lot of things that need to be done for you to get a bank loan. But with creative finance, you're able to cut out the bank and basically make the seller the bank where you're making payments to them. Now, there's different types of creative finance, because sometimes the house is owned free and clear. So if it's owned free and clear, then it's a seller finance. But sometimes there's a mortgage, and that's when you have to determine, hey, am I just paying the mortgage and the seller's walking away? Or is it a hybrid where there's a significant amount of equity and there's a significant amount of, there's a mortgage. There's a mortgage on there that needs to be paid, and there's a significant amount of equity. So you just need to make sure that the amount that you agree with the seller is, you're able to cash flow. So if you're paying the mortgage and you're paying the seller for the equity every single month, you need to make sure there's cash flow. And I'm going to explain that in a second. But yes, creative finance is the best way for you to build your portfolio and become a massive landlord with a lot of properties. You can have hundreds and hundreds of properties, right? because you're not going to the bank. You're finding the sellers that are wanting to do this. You're finding out their situation, if they have a mortgage, if it's owned free and clear, right? You're figuring this stuff out, so then you can either pitch them on the seller finance, or you can set up something where it's a hybrid, where you're paying their mortgage off and you're paying them for their equity, or they just want to fully walk away because there's no equity in the house. The thing is, if they were to sell it with an agent, they will have to come out of pocket. So they would have to write a check at closing, which sucks. So creative finance can actually save them from that. Let's talk about the different types of creative finance. Now, seller finance is when the house is owned free and clear. There's no mortgage. You're paying the seller directly. The seller will become the bank. Basically, as simple as I can explain it. It's seller finance. There's no debt. You create debt on the property that is being paid to the seller. Now, subject to is existing mortgage, and you're going to make payments to that existing mortgage, and you will keep the debt in place, and you will be the new owner. So the seller's name is staying on that debt, but you're making those payments to that debt, to the mortgage. Totally legal to do this, by the way, guys. If it's the first time you're hearing about this, it's legal. Definitely legal. You can do it. You can pay the mortgage of the seller and you become the owner. And if at any point those payments stop being made, the previous seller can foreclose on you. So that's subject to. Now, hybrid is when there's a mortgage and the seller has equity. So there's two things that you need to be paying every month, right? You need to be paying the seller and the mortgage. Now, you want to make sure that the monthly payment is 50% of the rents. So if you're paying $300 for the mortgage and then the seller is okay with getting $600, which comes out to $1,000 per month, you want to make sure that the rents are more, like $2,000, maybe $2,200, because you want a cash flow. So you want to make sure what you're paying every month, whether it's a seller finance, whether it's a hybrid, whether it's a creative finance and you're just paying the mortgage every month, you want to make sure that you are cash flowing. So the amount that you're paying every month is 50% of the rents in the area. 50%. So you have room for vacancy repairs and stuff like that, but you also are cash flowing and putting money in your pocket. That's why creative finance is so amazing, because you're able to get a property without having to credit, no pre-screening, nothing crazy. You go directly with the seller and you make this arrangement with them if that's what they want. And there are many sellers that want this. They're looking for something like this, where they already have another house, but they don't want to deal with this house. They just want those passive payments every single month, $800, $700, whatever the case is. So a wrap, you can sell this is more of what you would do once you have one of these. So if you had a seller finance or a subject to or hybrid, you would do what's called a wrap, where you sell the home with your interest on top. Basically, you can purchase the sub 2 loan for a 4% interest, and banks use 4 to 5, which is low enough to add your price to people who can get approved by the bank. You charge 8 to 9.5% interest rates to people that can't get approved with a bank loan. You make your spread over time. You will keep making payments to the original loan, but you will pocket the difference in interest rates. Why would anybody buy your deal? Because you're selling to people that can't get bank financing. You wrap it. You have a loan, you wrap it, you find a new buyer who's paying a higher interest and paying you in between. It's as simple as that. That seller's original loan is still getting paid off, and you're getting paid off the interest that you charged on top of the loan. So that's a wrap. Now, some terms to know is when it comes to a property, the paperwork, right, that's associated with the property is a warranty deed, which is the ownership of the house. Who owns the house? The promissory note is how you're promising basically to pay off the debt of the loan. And then a mortgage or a deed of trust, this is how the bank will foreclose on you. Now, this is a seller finance example right here, and I'm going to keep it very simple. Now, the way it would work, the seller doesn't have a loan on the property. Basically, the seller would give us the warranty deed, right? We would go to a title company, a closing attorney, right? A lawyer who would help us get this transaction done above board, right? We're not meeting up behind an alley or going to the McDonald's parking lot and just signing paperwork. No, we're doing this with a title company or a licensed professional, and we will get the warranty deed. That means we will be the owner of the house, and the seller is going to get a deed of trust and a promissory note, basically saying we're going to pay them the amount that we agreed, the terms, right? Whatever it was, like what we're paying them per month, and what's going to happen if we stop paying them per month, which means they can foreclose on us. But yeah, the seller would be protected because they will literally become the bank. If we stop making payments, they can foreclose on us. And they give us the warranty deed, which means they cannot take the property away from us if we keep making those payments. So if we make those payments every month, we'll always have the house. They can't ever take the house from us. They can only take it away if we stop making payments, right? So here we got the warranty deed, the seller's got the deed of trust, the promissory note, and the buyer which is us, is paying the seller every single month. The first of the month, whatever you guys agreed on. Now, typically for these types of deals, you want to follow this rule of thumb, which is 5, 10, 50. Now, I heard this in TTP. I got to give credit where it's due. I did hear this in TTP by Brent Daniels. And, he is my mentor. He is the person that taught me how to wholesale and whatnot. So this is something I heard in TTP, and it's very useful. It's called the 5, 10, 50. So you want to if you have to put a down payment, at most 5%. It's better if you don't have to put no down payment, but this is something you negotiate with the seller. So if you have to, at most 5% down. You want 10-year balloon minimum. So meaning that you have 10 years and then the balloon pops and the rest is owned. So 5 down, 10-year balloon minimum, and a payment half of what it rents for. So 5, 10, 50. 5 at most, right? If you have to, 5% down payment. 10 balloon period, meaning we have 10 years. That's the term of the debt. And then 50, meaning the monthly payment we're making to the seller is 50% of what it would rent for. So essentially you're cash flowing. Now let's take a look at this example. Why would you want to use sub 2, right? Creative finance. Why would you want to use creative finance? Well, because banks suck, guys. And banks actually sell your loan to third parties. So if the bank is selling your loan, guys, you can do this yourselves, right? You don't need to involve them. If the seller's okay with it, it's better to go the creative finance route. You put a less down payment, right? You get a property for little to nothing, and you can start cash flowing immediately if you do it correctly. But yeah, banks suck. It's a hassle. They have strict criteria. You need bank statements, you need W-2, you need a credit report. It could take 30 days minimum for the process to get accepted. With a bank, you have massive down payment. There's out-of-pocket expenses, appraisal, inspection, loan origination fees, prepaids, upfront insurance, reserves, where you need to have reserves, meaning extra cash. Interest rates might be higher if it's a rental. But whatever the case is, you got to understand there's a lot of money involved with you buying a property going to the bank, which can drastically be decreased if you go and just use creative finance and work and find a seller that's comfortable with this and you acquire their property that way. Now for this example, right, just to show you guys how expensive it is going to the bank, if the property is $200,000, your down payment is going to be like $50,000. And you're going to need $5 to $10K for other expenses needed for approval. So you're looking at $60,000 just to buy one property, guys. That is going to be so hard to scale. It's going to be very, very hard to scale and get a lot of properties and really retire and get that passive income. It's going to be impossible. This $60,000 is a lot of money, right? I mean, it's not impossible, but it's going to be much, much harder. When you could just go with the creative finance route, find sellers that are willing to, take payments. They'll need the lump sum up front and acquire their property that way, right? Because doing it the traditional way, going to the bank, you need a massive down payment. It's going to be much harder to scale. Now, let's go over here. What do you pay in a creative finance? Now, I know it says sub 2, but that's because I'm referring to the sub 2 PACE mortgage community, but I'm referring to like creative finance in general when I'm speaking about this, right? Because sub 2 is one of the creative finance strategies. There are others. So when I'm saying what do you pay in sub 2, I'm really saying what do you pay in credit finance. So you pay a real estate a lawyer for paperwork, title company, monthly payments to the seller or the seller's mortgage. You get the prepaid insurance and 5% down payment or no down payment at all. So you save so much money from not having to put that massive down payment with the bank and deal with all that headache of the pre-screening. So you save a lot of money because this is all that's needed for a creative finance deal. Now, who can you help with creative finance? People that are getting foreclosed on, right? The mortgage needs to be paid right away. Financial crisis, sellers that are asking, $192,000 and the ARV is a $200,000. So they're asking very close to ARV. You would be able to pay them their asking price if they're okay with taking payments over time. And now 5, seller does not need a lump sum up front and is okay with monthly payments. Number 6, the seller has no equity and is looking to walk away without writing a check because the value of the house is literally what they owe in the mortgage. So there's no equity and they will have to write a check if they want to sell the house. And instead of doing that, they can just subject to the house to you. You take over the loan and they're able to walk away without having to pay that mortgage, and they don't have to write a check to close on the property. So, there are situations where creative finance would be useful. Now, what type of houses do you target? What type of houses do we target? We're targeting average single family, starter family house, right? A rental, right? This needs to be an average low end house. When the market is down, it will be hard to find someone who will be able to purchase higher end houses. So let's stick to single family residence. And now here's some options. You can Airbnb the house, you can rent it out, you can sell it at a higher interest to make money long term, right? Loan out to people who can't get approved by the bank, wrap, owner finance. So these are what you can actually do once you get the property with one of those creative finance strategies. Now, I do want to specify that you are able to wholesale these, but I don't really recommend it. Okay, so let me explain this as best as I can and just being completely honest. Okay, creative finance is good if you're actually going to take these deals down. Like you're actually going to make the payments to the seller. You're going to rent out the property, Airbnb it, you do a wrap, bring cash flow, because that's where the real money is made. Okay, the money is not being made by you underwriting these deals, taking all that time underwriting these deals with the seller and then wholesale it to a buyer and only make like 10, 15,000. Okay, it's not worth it. So yes, you can underwrite these deals. You could be a wholesaler, get the seller to sign the purchase and sale, and you can assign this to them. You can assign this to a buyer, but it's not worth it because with creative finance, I'm going to be completely honest with you, a lot of sellers haven't heard of this. Like when you're trying to wholesale, you basically tell the seller, like, hey, I'm the buyer, or I work with a group of buyers, I work with a group of investors, and the seller is okay with it. Like that sounds normal to them. But when you're explaining creative finance, like, hey, I'm going to take over your mortgage, but it's going to stay in your name, they're going to freak out. Or if you tell them, hey, I'm going to pay you monthly, some of them will freak out. And you will have to explain it to them. Like, hey, it's legal. We do the right paperwork. You're covered. You become the bank. We're making payments on your behalf, right? We have to explain it to them, and it's going to take much longer than trying to do a wholesale deal. It's going to take 20 plus calls and months to only make 10, 15K if you wholesale the deal. It's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. So if you're going to learn creative finance to only underwrite these deals and then wholesale them, and you think you're going to make a fortune, I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare because the real money is being made when you actually keep these properties and build your portfolio and make passive income. That is where the real money is made. The money is not being made and you doing all this work underwriting. Yeah, it looks cool or whatever, but You're doing all this work, 20 plus calls to only make 10 to 15 grand. You can literally wholesale land, wholesale houses and make a lot more money with a lot less effort. Whereas trying to underwrite these creative deals just to wholesale them to buyers makes no sense. It's legal. You can do this, right? Pace Morby and his team does mention like you can wholesale these deals, right? He even suggests that you can wholesale it to him. But I'm just saying, like, in my opinion, you shouldn't wholesale these deals. They take a lot of time to underwrite, a lot of time to find, because finding wholesale deals is hard, but finding creative finance deals are even harder. They're even harder. So I definitely wouldn't build a business model around finding creative finance deals and wholesaling them. I would build a business model over finding creative finance deals and then taking them down and building my portfolio. Okay, I want to be 100% clear about that. I don't want you wasting your time learning creative finance if you can't take these deals down. It's not going to open up doors for you. You need to be ready to take these deals down. Okay, so I'm sorry, I just had to get that out there because there's a lot of people that will tell you, yeah, learn this exit strategy and you open up a massive door. No, you won't open up a massive door. Only if you're going to take these deals down. But if you're just going to wholesale them out, it's going to take so much time. You could have been doing other things and making way more money. I'm just being real. So let's go over here. Do you have the financial resources and capacity to pursue these deals in order to grow your portfolio? So plain English, do you have money to take these deals down? You need at least 15,000, maybe 20, 30. You'd be good. You'd be good to take these deals down. Do you have that money? If you don't have that money, then I suggest you partner with a sub-2 student, and then every time you see a lead that appears that they would take monthly payments, you send it over to the person you're partnering with on sub-2. They will do all the underwriting, they'll pitch it to the seller, all the paperwork, and then you'll split it with them and you'll make like 5-7 grand. I do not recommend you take your time, do all this research on YouTube, trying to learn how to underwrite the deal when you're not going to take it down. You're just going to wholesale it. It's going to take so much time where you could have been talking to other sellers, right? You could have been wholesaling land. You could have been wholesaling houses, right? It would have been so much easier to just wholesale to a fix and flipper and close in 30 days, right? Because sellers understand that it's easier to pitch, it's easier to find a seller that's motivated, the house is ugly, and they're willing to sell the discount, rather than it is to find a seller that is going to take monthly payments. So it's going to take much longer for you to underwrite this type of deal and for you to explain it to the seller to only make 10 to 15K if you're going to wholesale it. That's what I'm saying. I'm being honest. Like, if you don't have the money to take these deals down, just partner with someone in sub-2. And then anytime you see a lead that comes up in your pipeline, you can send it over to them. They will do the pitching and the paperwork and all that, and you guys will split the deal. Then, you gotta check without having to do this massive amount of work and learning, okay? So, if you don't have money, partner with a sub-2 student and send them those deals that could fit the creative finance criteria. They'll do all the pitching, close it for you. I don't suggest you take your time to learn the strategy if you're not going to take these deals down, because the real money is being made taking these deals down and being the owner. So if you do have money, then guess what? I do recommend you purchase the Subject to course. Price is about $9,000 and maybe $11,000. And I know that's pretty expensive, but you can actually pay that off in full with one wholesale deal, if we're being honest. And Pace Morby, he will teach you absolutely every single strategy with creative finance. He'll break it down. He'll give you the paperwork. So with this course, you will 100% be ready to acquire properties without the bank. Let me say that again. Without the bank, you'll be able to acquire properties. There's no limit. You'll be able to own 1,000 properties. Nobody is stopping you. So I do recommend you learn creative finance if you have money to take these deals down. And you purchase Pace Morby's course if you're looking to learn this. I don't think this is something that could just be learned off YouTube. I really, really don't. I do think this is one of the strategies you definitely need to buy a course for. I'm being honest. And if you don't have the money, partner with a sub-2 student, because these deals they're rare. And when they do come, I wouldn't spend months learning and pitching and understanding how to underwrite. You just partner with someone. And when you do have money, definitely start taking these deals down yourself, because the money is made taking these deals down. So that was creative finance. We explained how we can cut the bank out by partnering with the seller, either doing a seller finance subject to a hybrid. And I also mentioned the rule of thumb, which 5% of the purchase price as the down payment or less. It would be better if it's nothing, but sometimes sellers do want a small down payment. If they want a massive down payment, it does disqualify them, because we are looking to, 5% down at the most. And then 10-year balloon minimum, meaning after the 10 years, we have to pay them back the remaining balance. And then 50% of what the rents are going for. So what you're paying the seller monthly needs to be 50% of what the rents are going for in the area, so you are cash flowing. That was creative finance. So we just went over fix and flip. We went over creative finance. And now we're going to go over novations. Cool. So we're going to go over novations. So fix and flip, creative finance, cutting out the bank, and novations. Now, if you guys have innovation, definitely partner up with me. Check the link below. We could literally partner up and split the deal 50-50. And I will do all the heavy lifting for you, because these deals have the money to take them down. And I'd be more than honored to partner up with you on novations. So let me explain novation, guys. So when it comes to novation in real estate, novations is when a new party takes over an existing contract, replacing one of the original parties. So with a novation, you are selling to a buyer paying with a loan. Because remember, when you're wholesaling, you can only sell to people paying with cash. So you're only selling the flippers most of the time. And those flippers are paying with cash or hard money. But with a novation, you're able to get properties that are much nicer and actually put them on the MLS and sell them to a first-time home buyer paying with a bank loan. So this novation strategy is crazy. Let's get into it. In real estate transactions, novation and assignments are two different ways to transfer a contract from one party to another. The main difference is that in a novation, the seller signs the offer directly with the buyer, while in an assignment, the wholesaler can sign an assignment contract with the buyer. In a novation, the lender is not alarmed and the seller pays an invoice at closing. This allows us to collect a fee and sell to a buyer who is paying with a bank loan. Novation is useful when selling directly to a first-time home buyer that is paying with a bank loan. Remember, with wholesale, we are assigning our contract to a flipper who is going to execute the purchase and sale. But with a novation, we are substituting one agreement for another, which allows us to be sneaky in a way, because it's kind of like these little loopholes with laws and contracts. It's so cool. I think it's cool, but whatever. Like, you're replacing one contract with another, which means the lender does not get alarmed, because you are going to have the buyer sign the offer with the seller, and we're going to collect our difference. And I'll explain that in a moment. And yes, so let's get into it. So what are the documents that are needed to do a novation? You need to sign the purchase and sale, which is the amount the seller is going to be walking away with, and then a power of attorney for listing, meaning that we have a power of attorney to sign the listing docs on behalf of the seller, meaning that we're able to hire a realtor and now sign as if we were the seller. That is what this power of attorney is for. That's the only thing that it's doing. It's not allowing us to open up a credit line. We're not running town with this power of attorney. It's simply just for us to sign listing docs with a real estate professional. And on the novation docs basically stating that the seller is getting the amount on the purchase and sale, and then anything above that is basically going to us. Okay, so what would we do with a novation? We have the seller sign this paperwork, we agreed at the price, and now we would interview realtors who are going to list the property. They are going to basically list it on the MLS, and we're going to look for a retail buyer that is willing to buy the house as is. Now, sales tips. Let the agent sell themselves. It's important that in sales, it's important to remember that you are the prize and not the other way around. Don't be intimidated and let the agent sell themselves to you. This approach can help you be more confident, yada, yada, yada. This is not important, okay? I'm going to delete that. Basically, don't sell yourself when you call agents. You are the prize. And you are searching for recently sold houses in the area, house that sold on the MLS. You're calling the listing agent. You're asking them, what are their past sales and what do they think we can sell this property that we have under contract for in the next 30 days? What should we list it for us to sell in the next 30 days? Because what we're going to do is we're going to put this property on the market and basically get a profit. Now, once you have interviewed agents and you figured out, if they actually are qualified because they have sales in the area and what they told you that they could list it for and sell it in 30 days is actually pretty reasonable, you can go ahead and hire the agent. So you sign the listing docs and then you have the agent go meet the seller to sign any other additional disclosures. And now you're going to prepare for the listing. So you're going to have the agent go out to the property, meet the seller, and take pictures of the house. Now, there are a lot more things involved with this, guys. Okay, I'm just giving you guys a simple overview. But if you guys do have a deal that would fit this criteria, please let me know. But basically, the novation criteria is you're looking for houses that are livable or better. Houses that you'll take a look at and you're like, wow, this is not ideal for a fix-and-upper. The seller's asking a little bit too much compared to the wholesale MAO, but there is a discount from what it can sell for on the open market. So what the as-is value or ARV, it's significantly different, discounted from what the seller is asking. So you're able to actually take those properties, put them on the MLS, find a retail buyer, and since you're selling to a retail buyer, you're able to make more money, and so you're able to pay the seller. I do want you to know there's a lot more stuff involved with the novation, and I will be dropping another video on a deal that I recently did. And I'm going to be breaking that down to kind of explain to you guys because there's a lot more involved. Sometimes you do have to put money in these deals, or sometimes you just sell them as is. But one other thing I want to mention is that you do need to lay the groundwork with the realtor. The realtor needs to know that the seller doesn't want to get involved. The seller is going to open the door for the realtor and open the doors for any buyers. But the realtor is to speak with us directly. We are handling the whole situation. So if there's repairs needed, if the buyers are requesting certain things that need to be done, that needs to be communicated to us. The seller doesn't need to be aware of anything. All the seller is doing is opening the door and letting buyers in, right? That's when, when you have them sign your purchase and sale, the novation docs, and you're going over the process, you have to be very clear. Like, hey, I can get you this price. We have a program in our company, and I'm able to get you this price here. We have professionals, right? We pay the realtor. And we'll basically bring a buyer to the table. It's a white glove experience. We'll basically pitch it to them like that, but letting them know there is a realtor involved. We are paying the realtor's commissions, but there is a realtor involved, and we're not the end buyer. We are bringing the end buyer because we have a network of realtors and other investors we work with, and that we're going to be shooting this out to a private network of buyers and also on the MLS. So we tell this very directly to the seller, and if they agree, we can go ahead with the process and novate the house. We hire the realtors. We interview the realtor. We hire the realtor. We send the realtor out to take pictures of the property, and then the realtor will put it on the MLS. And so what is this good for? Novations is good for those properties that you have in your CRM. I know you have those leads in your CRM. So send me an email or call me. We gotta work on these leads because every wholesaler that I've spoken to has this type of seller in their pipeline. This is the type of seller that would fit a novation. So they are motivated or slightly motivated. The house is in good condition. It does not look like it would be ideal for a fixer-upper. Because the fixer-upper we need to tear the walls down, we need to change the cabinets. It doesn't look like it's in bad shape. The roof is new, the roof is good. Everything seems to be intact of the house. The structure is fine. There's no plumbing or electrical issues. But the house is actually in pretty good condition, guys. Like you would be able to rent this thing out without having to do nothing. Maybe paint or maybe clean it out. But for the most part, the house is in good and livable condition that it will pass bank financing. Okay? It will pass bank financing because, yeah, it's not fully renovated, but it's in really good shape. And now the seller is not asking retail. The seller is asking below retail. More than your wholesale MAO, but below retail where there's a little bit of wiggle room. For example, ARV could be like $300,000 and the seller is asking $230,000, $240,000, maybe even $250,000. That would be something we can possibly novate. Because as you know, if ARV is 300, your wholesale MAO is going to be like 180, 170, maybe 200. But with a novation, we can probably get in there and do 220, 230, 240 in that range. Okay? So novations are good for those houses that are really good condition where the seller's asking significantly below retail, but they're asking more than your wholesale offer. Your wholesale offer is too low. They are negotiable, right? They're not asking for retail because full retail wouldn't work for wholesale and it would not work for our novations. So the seller's not asking full retail. They're right here. Your wholesale offer is right here. Your novation offer is here and retail is here. Okay? So retail is like, I don't know, $400K and the seller's asking $320, $330. That makes sense, right? We're looking at 80 to maybe 75% of the ARV. So I'm not gonna lie, novations is definitely a good strategy because now you're not just gonna shut away from sellers that don't accept your lowball offer, but you'll pitch them on this novation and you'll be able to get them the price that they want, and also you'll be able to make a fee because you're not selling this property to a flip. You're not selling the house to a fixer. You're not selling the house to a flipper. You're selling the house to a first-time home buyer who's going to live in the house. The house just needs to be livable. And that's why we hire the realtor. The realtor will be able to let us know as well if they think that it's livable and that it can actually sell on the MLS and pass inspection, because the realtors have seen all types of conditions, guys. They know what will sell and what won't. So that's why we interview top realtors and then we hire the best one. They take some pictures, they put it on the MLS. And if we zoom in here, you guys look at the condition of this house, right? Obviously it's not fully renovated, but it seems pretty good shape to me. It's in pretty good shape. Now let me see if I can get some pictures. Okay, so this is the novation deal that I'm breaking down in the next video. But if we zoom in, look at the kitchen, right? It's not fully renovated, but it's in damn good shape. Really good shape. And that's exactly what we did. We novated the house. We got this house, I believe, and it's right here. We got this house for $116,000 and we put it on the MLS for $150,000. As you can see here, $116,000. And we listed it on the MLS for $150,000. We made a solid profit on this one of $24,000. Okay, by novating the house and selling the house to a first-time home buyer. So I just broke down different exit strategies. We went over fix and flipping. We went over how to talk the lender's language, right? All the terms. And we went over creative finance, why it's useful. And I would not focus on wholesaling those deals. I would focus on keeping those deals. And if I can't afford it, then I'll just partner up with a sub-2 student who will do all the underwriting. Don't really waste your time learning that strategy if you're not going to take them down, because the money is being made by taking those deals down. The money is not being made by doing all that work, underwriting and selling to a buyer to collect a wholesale fee. So credit finance is the best way to become a big time landlord and have have a bunch of properties without involving the bank. And we went over novations, which means we're able to offer the seller more for their property that's in good condition, because we are going to be bringing in a buyer that is going to live in the house and is paying with a bank loan And they're gonna, usually the buyers that are living in the house are paying top dollar. The house have to be in good condition, and the seller cannot want full retail. There needs to be a discount, right? We're paying at least 70 to 75% of what it would sell for on the market. So I will give you guys a formula and whatnot in the next video. But in this video, I went over these other exit strategies. I hope, I'm wrapping it up now, but I hope I brought some value to you guys. If you guys have any innovation deals in any of the 50 states, I'll be more than honored to partner up with you on those deals and walk you through it. Appreciate you guys for checking out this video. If there's any other content you want to see, leave it below. In the next video, I'm going to be breaking down 2 deals that I got, 2 case studies. One is a wholesale and one is on ovation. So stay tuned for that. And make sure you guys save money from your wholesale deals so you can start fix and flipping. You can start building your portfolio using creative finance, and you can start doing novations. So I appreciate you guys. Have a blessed day.